Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here at the Technical Forum at the group exhibit Hydrogen, Fuel Cells and Batteries, this year here at the Hanover Fairground in the year of 2015. Every 15 minutes we will hear interesting presentations regarding the hydrogen industry. Today's topic is the hydrogen production and energy storage. That's our overall topic. Our next presentation has the title Addressing New Technical Safety Challenges in Developing Alternative Fuels Infrastructure. And for that, please welcome with me on stage HySafe President Dr. Andrei Tchouvelev. Big hands, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for introductions. The title of the presentation, you can see it. It's the Addressing New Technical Safety Challenges. The reason I'm repeating it, there will be another presentation on Thursday. We'll be talking about the social aspects in public acceptance. So that's the just to underline that the main point that will be made during the presentation addresses the technical safety challenges. Before we get to that, just very briefly about our association, what HySafe is. So HySafe today, it was founded in 2009 as a follow-up of the European project Network of Excellence. HySafe with the same name is a non-profit organization under Belgian law. We have 32 members with the public institutions, national labs, universities, and private companies from 14 countries worldwide. We have a pretty unique structure that addresses both research issues, knowledge dissemination, public relations, and industry relations as well. So vision and mission are here, and the key words are underlined and underscored. We believe hydrogen will be introduced as a safe energy carrier, and we aim to be the international focal point to coordinate, develop, and disseminate hydrogen knowledge, and to coordinate hydrogen safety research, education, and training. That's kind of a vision of what that actually means. So we guide the projects. Some of them relate to the previous life of HySafe as a European Union project, but we expanded it further. And specifically, the research priorities, coordination is a very important activity that we have with the biannual workshops. We conduct the industry short courses and other education and training through the technical summer school. And there is a special course at the University of Ulster. International conference that I'll show in the next slide. We inform codes and standards, participating in the European and international activities, and we partner with different organizations around the globe, which you can see on this slide. One of the important events that we have is the International Conference on Hydrogen Safety, which is the only and highly focused event which is happen every 2 years. The next one will be in October 2015. And if you stop in our booth, you can pick up the brochures about the conference. Now getting to the point of this talk, and I would like to address your attention to the issue that's not really being handled in any systemic way around the globe. There are examples, of course, where it's been handled, and you will see the pictures of that. But essentially, we are transitioning in a new way the fueling stations are being or will be operated. So that's kind of the status quo. And from your own personal experience, you know that the most typical questions, they either single fuel, gasoline, CNG, or LPG. There are other variations, but most likely it's the gasoline, diesel fueling stations, which could be separate or single dispensers. So there are some pictures illustrate the typical stations that we'll see in our life. Now the second bullet here in green says that since there are no standards for multi-fuel fueling stations, they're covered only in local regulations. The purpose of this is saying that ideally All the regulations obviously is always there. Ideally, the regulations should be based on standards that indicate certain consistent requirements, but it's not the case. There are no international or national multi-fuel fueling stations. There are individual countries that have standards for certain fuels, most prominently CNG. There are not really stations for gasoline. So that makes it very difficult, even for the hydrocarbon world, because the regulations are not consistent and they not always allow even co-location of other hydrocarbon fuels together with the gasoline, diesel in there, or they impose severe separation distance restrictions. And it was noted earlier in the public forum, very often the stations are located on the premium real estate, and if you require too big of a separation between dispensers, the fuel operators may not be willing to co-locate other fuels. I titled that New Reality of Hydrogen Fueling because most of the hydrogen stations, as we know them, they are so-called greenfield installations. In other words, they are solo hydrogen fueling. These are two examples, both pioneered by Shell, where you have co-location of hydrogen. This is a more traditional way where hydrogen dispenser is located in a row of gasoline dispensers. This one is even more unique station in Santa Monica in California, where you have that's supplied by Shell Hydrogenics, where all the hardware for hydrogen is actually on a canopy, on a rooftop. That's something unique that hydrogen offers because of its property and buoyancy, and you can actually put the hydrogen equipment on top. So that's something very new that we're all encountering, and that needs to be looked at from a different perspective. But again, you can see the co-location of hydrogen and gasoline here. Now, another reality is that, and Germany is kind of pioneering that in co-locating very many fuels there. It's not the best picture in the world, but you can see and count there are 8 different fuels there, including hydrogen in there. So this is more conventional display of different brands of gasoline and diesel, but that's really where the novelty comes in. You have the hydrogen and LPG actually side by side. It's pretty unique in the world. In many countries, you would not be allowed to place those together because of the clearances that are imposed by the local regulations. In some cases, the requirement could be arranged between 3 to 6 meters between dispensing of different fuels. So this is pretty unique. So that's kind of the last slide in here, fuel infrastructure challenge. So we all understand that hydrogen and other alternative fuels, including electricity, will need to be integrated with conventional fuels into a cohesive fueling infrastructure. So far, most of the stations are, Germany is taking a different approach to that, but in other countries that we will see, including the United States and Canada for that matter, the fueling is done on independent sites. But eventually we'll run out of real estate, and the more stations grow, it has to be integrated. Electricity is an interesting mix there. You saw the previous slide on the picture over here. So you can add something else here, maybe ethanol, electricity charge. So you might have between 8 to 10 fueling options in one fueling site. So safety issues need to be, is it the yellow thing already? No, okay. Safety issues need to be looked at, not based on the single fuel behavior as we do today, but from a multi-fuel perspective. There's clear overlap between the fuels and energy options, which we need to look at. International standards for single fuel stations that are being developed, say by ISO TC 197 or by PC 252 for CNG and LNG stations, need to be harmonized to avoid potentially conflicting requirements. Because if you have these fuels co-located, the regulators and inspectors who actually approve them need to clearly understand which code to follow. And if they have to follow two codes, they should not be different too much. It's better to harmonize them in terms of terminology and approach. And this is an important point as well. Significant effort is needed to guide the development of consistent regulatory requirements, allowing multi-fuel alternative options at a single fueling site. In my professional career, I deal with inspectors and fire people and building inspectors all the time. And it's, I can see it, how challenged they are sometimes with interpreting certain requirements because there's no consistency at the regulatory level. So that needs proper attention. So thank you for your attention, and you can visit us in booth 65E or at Public Forum on Thursday at 11:40. We'll be talking about the public acceptance of hydrogen technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also from my side. Are there any questions from the audience?
You said something about the necessity of international standards. Can you also say a few words about these international standards? Which parties make these standards and how far are they now and what can we expect in the near future?
Thank you very much. The committee that I chair, TC 197 and ISO, is developing the whole family of what we call of fueling standards. It's the new approach. It's a standard ISO 19880-1. It's the working group 24 within TC 197. It's progressing very nicely towards the international standard in 2015, which will be harmonized with Europe to meet the requirements of EU AFI directive, which is the Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Directive. So it's all in harmony with CEN under the Vienna Agreement. So we'll expect the new international standard for the fueling stations by the end of 2016. As part of the this fueling family of standards, we also have the dispenser standard, compressor, hoses, valves and fittings, as well as we are thinking of the fuel quality standard to support the fuel quality spec developed earlier, and probably finally when those standards are published, I will get to the fueling protocol to support the SAE J2601.
Thank you. For further questions and further answers, you can visit HiSafe at booth number E65, as displayed here, E65. We are running out of time, so therefore I'd like to thank you, Dr. Andrei Tchouvelev from HySafe. Thank you very much. Big hands, please.
Thank you.
Next topic will be the lifetime testing of PEM fuel cells. And for that, we'll hear Mr. Ulf Groß from the Fraunhofer Institut für Solarenergie. Wir haben noch ein bisschen Zeit. Ich gebe es in 5 Minuten auf. Sie dürfen das von der rechten Seite.